Hey everybody, welcome back to Trey's Models. On this episode we're going to be building two P-61 Black Widows. The Black Widow was the only World War II night fighter designed from the ground up as a night fighter and not converted from another airframe. John K. Northrop submitted a design and a contract was approved in January of 1941. The kit was released by Monogram in 1974. They reboxed it in 1977, and then when Revell took over, they got a new release in 1991 and a rebox in 1995. Not much changed other than the decals and the box art. The basic airframe itself goes together fairly well. Not any fit issues except right at the wing roots. You're going to need a little filler there. Here's one of the first issues with the kit comes into play. Right where the boom halves come together behind the engine nacelles, there's a screened area. A seam line runs right through that screen. It's impossible to get that seam completely gone without destroying the detail. So basically what I did was cut that whole area out and put in a new piece of styrene, and then it added some actual screen in later. Also, don't forget to put some nose weight up in so it's not a tail sitter. One of the reasons I'm doing two P-61 builds is Monogram, for whatever reason, molded one engine nacelle with the cooling flaps at the back in the open position and the other one shut. So basically what I'm going to do is some surgery and swap the closed to go on the in-flight version, and then I'm going to put the open ones on its own set of booms for the on-the-ground version. And right here I've got a piece of styrene that I'm using for the new firewall. And also you can see the piece of styrene that I put down in the bottom to replace the area where I cut the screen out. Okay, so one set of cowls I was able to save. I decided to go with some resin ones for the other set of cowlings, and I opted for some resin props and new hubs because the detail on them is a little bit better. And I also went with the resin engine upgrade for one set. Continuing on with the engines, I did one set that I'm using from the actual kit into the in-flight version, and the resin one will actually go on the ground version. The office on this is straight out of the box. There's nothing really added to it. I didn't go any aftermarket craziness here. What I did have to spend a lot of time with was the fit issue with the canopy to the actual pod. There's a huge gap. I actually wound up using styrene. I think it's almost a millimeter in width in some spots, and then the other spots I came back with green squadron putty and fixed. The only thing I could think of is the molds are just getting that far out of whack over the years. The Monogram boxing actually fits a little bit better. Well, I took the easy way out and got some pre-cut mask for the canopies. It saves a lot, especially up in the front area where the little small panes and the curves around the windows. The fit at this point is not looking too bad. I had to come back and rescribe some stuff where I had to fix the gaps. The gap to the wing root fuselage isn't real hateful, just a little swipe of putty, cleaned it up pretty quick. Not too much of a bad issue here. Continuing cleanup with seams and intake areas and the wing roots. Coming back and rescribing a few of the panel lines. The raised panel lines that are on this aren't too hateful, so where I lose them, I just come alongside of them and rescribe them and then sand away the raised areas. And here begins the pain of getting the boom situated and lined. The boom fit's not really great. It does require a lot of putty and a lot of difficult areas and contours to try to sort out. And in the last picture here you can also see the new firewalls for the replacement engines and a better shot of the screens replacement areas on the bottom of the engine nacelles. And also you can see how much putty was needed along the seams on the back of the underside of the tail booms. Had to keep going back and adding more filler, and I used some black paint over the top of the filler, then wet sanded it down to make sure I got all the areas because I'm just missing so many. And the new firewalls installed with the new engine nacelles. More cleanup to be done on the bottom. The wing root to engine nacelle areas needed a little bit of putty, and the screened area underneath the engine nacelles needed some more attention. Slowly knocking it out. On the black one I wanted to try the salt chipping method, so I based it with silver. Then I sprayed the leading edges down with mister and sprinkled some salt crystals on it. Let that dry. Then I sprayed the base color on it. Then I came back with the stiff brush and scrubbed all the salt off of it. And this is the result that I got with it. Not too hateful. I'm okay with it. I shot some tester's gloss coat on the black version and saw some imperfections in it, so I came back and wet sanded those down before I applied another coat of gloss on it. P-61A-11 Midnight Madness flew with the 548th Night Fighter Squadron. It was damaged on April 1945 when another P-61, making a landing in dense fog, basically landed on top of part of the aircraft, and it was a total write-off. Thankfully, nobody was injured on the ground there. The Midnight Madness crew consisted of Captain James W. Bradford, the pilot, the radar operator, Lieutenant Larry Lunt, and gunner was Sergeant Reno Lukow. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. It might be Lukow. The P-61 named Moon Happy was with the 6th Night Fighter Squadron in Saipan in 1944 and serial number 42-5527, piloted by Lieutenant Dale F. Haberman. He was credited with 4 Betty bomber shootdowns and a possible cape. I was always inspired by Chet Payne's dioramas and decided to try my hand at one for this build. And started out with a scratch-built compressed air cart. For the corrugated tin roofs, I used a piece of aluminum foil pressed down over some bamboo skewers. Then I finished it with some Model Master enamels and weathered it with some artist oils. I built a hoist with the spare R2800 on it and a bench with some tools and a vise and a cannon being worked on. For the base of the diorama, I used some foam glued to a sheet of plywood. Then I contoured the foam, added some PSP matting, weathered to make it look like rusted steel, some sand, then I airbrushed some palm trees and some shrubs.